Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerd Moments. This is where we come together and share different passions, or as I like to call them, nerddoms, and integrate them in different ways to see where we can cross different lines of people that we connect with on our daily lives, or different things that we do in our daily lives, and how those different nerddoms can impact that. We're going to go down a little bit different of a path today. I'm sure that those of you that have been following, I've tended to focus a lot on games and movies. And that's just because those are some of my most immediate, obvious fandoms and nerddoms that I do like to talk about quite a bit. But in a completely other field, I also love to talk about things like exercise and nutrition and some of those daily applications outside of those nerddoms. At some point, I will actually show you how I use some of the other things I've talked about, like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and apply them to things like what we're talking about today, things like strength training. But strength training today, I wanted to focus on a more direct example of how it can apply to your life. So what is strength training? Ultimately, if we boil it down to its core, and we're not trying to get into all of the technicalities of it, if I was just to introduce someone to it in a basic sense, what you're doing in strength training is you are taking some form of weight or resistance, and you are applying it to a group of muscles and the bones and joints that are related to those muscles and the ligaments, and you're putting due stress upon those groupings to encourage those muscles and other tissues to gain resistance or resilience against that weight or resistance that you are using. So therefore, the stress that you're putting that grouping under becomes stronger, it becomes more resilient. I do love to be active. I personally do not follow sports, which, oh no, I know I'm going to have some people who will want me to talk about those nerddoms, and I'd be glad to. If you're passionate about sports, great. I can talk about sports. I just personally, I like to be physically active. I do like to be at least somewhat athletic, but more on a more personal scale. Rather than how some people go about it. I know some people are interested for sports by watching them, some in participating in larger collective sports, and some people like me like the more solitary athletics. So the most direct connection that you can have between what I just described as strength training that you can apply in your daily life, of course, is in your mind, in your mindset, in the way that you approach your daily life. So our mind isn't exactly the same as a muscle, but if you are using a weight to put stress on a muscle or a bone, you likewise deal with stress in your daily life. Unfortunately, some of us come with different natural abilities to resist or have resiliency towards different types of stress, learned from our parents or from friends or different environments of learning. We all come with different skill sets when it comes to something like stress. And there's different types of stress that we have to deal with. There's different kinds of good and bad stress that we deal with mentally, day in, day out. And of course you have the influence of emotions and other things like that. I find that these different stressors mentally are very similar to whether you're using free weights. If you go to the gym, you're going to relate to this more. You have the free weights, you have some of the more organized pulley system weights, resistance bands, all of these different types of stressors that you can use to strengthen different groups of muscle and bone. So when you're doing physical exercise, the key, particularly with strength training, of course, is you have to have a balance. So you do want to put some stress on those muscles because you do want to encourage those different tissues to grow and become stronger, of course. But you also don't want to do too much of it, whether it's a whole bunch of repetitions of the same exercise, or too heavy of a weight, or too many of the one type within the same time period. You have to give your body a chance to heal and to grow and to accommodate to what you have just put it under stress of physically. The same thing with mental stress. We have many different things that come at us day in, day out, that we have some very difficult stressors, whether it's in the case of school, you have grades or professor expectations, societal expectations, you have good stressors, which they're still stressful, like the classic example, of course, is weddings or different events like that, where it's a wonderful experience, it's something that we enjoy, but it still taxes us in some sense. So just like learning how your body handles physical stress to build muscle, you have to start to become in tune also with how your mind and your emotions can handle stress on a daily basis. You have to be in tune with yourself to an extent to be aware of, I can handle this, I can't handle this, I might be able to handle this, I'm going to try and we'll see what I'm able to do, but I'm going to keep some thing in place in my mind to say, okay, I've hit a point where I need to be careful. That takes time to learn. Once you find that balance of how to deal with all of these different stressors day in, day out, which it takes some fine tuning every single day on different kinds of stressors, you'll be able to then give those different stressors on your mind focus and then breaks, just like you would with strength training, where you do some intensive work and then you give them a break to recover and heal and build those new muscle tissues of strength. Same thing with your brain, so that you can cycle throughout the day in a healthy manner of, okay, I've dealt with this particular stressor, and now I'm going to step away from that a little bit so that my mind can ease away from it and go into this next part of the day. Some people function better on when it comes to dealing with those stresses throughout the day, whether it's, let's just say that there's a bunch of tasks that you need done at work. Some people like to try and sit down and I'm gonna lift all of this weight all at once and just get it done with. I'm gonna tackle this huge task and it's going to be gone. If you have attained the skill set to be able to do that, great. I would encourage not doing that all of the time as far as dealing with a task at work, the mental stress of it. But if you have built up the skill sets, great. Not everyone has. Most people are not starting at that point. Typically what is best is, some people, they need the discipline of a timer. 10, 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to work on this large task for a while, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to go to this other task that's going to be a little bit of a break for my brain on that. And then I might go to either another task or back to the large task for a couple minutes. And differentiating the pressure that is on your mind of dealing with those larger tasks. So this is the first step of strength training for your brain. And I really hope that it is resourceful for you to take some time to think about this, what it means for you. Keep in mind that there is a lot more to this, and like I said, it takes a lot of fine tuning as you're just starting to get into what this looks like in your daily life. I would be glad to connect with you, whether in the comments or if you want to connect with me by email or other resources. I would absolutely be glad to do that with you. In other good news, I am continuing to work on finishing up my website. That will be up shortly, and that's where you will find all of these resources collected again. YouTube does a good job of hosting the videos, but I will also have some links to resources there, as well as opportunities to connect with me on a further level. If you like the topic today and you want to go into greater depth on it with me and how we can fine tune it to apply it to your life, I would absolutely love to connect with you on that, and the website will be done soon to do that. I'm very excited about that. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for checking in. Until next time, have a wonderful life and apply these principles day in, day out. I look forward to hearing what the results are for you. Bye.